It looks like someone filmed it on their little handheld.
Ooh.
And had like a budget of $12, and that was for snacks.
Oh,
because it was like, oh, this is deeply terrible.
I love it.
Anyway, but yes, I mean, I think that was kind of the precursor to disco. Was you got the glamour of this, and then moved into with kind of that era of glamour and mod and all of that stuff that came before it. You used to have people really going to dance clubs more and getting more dolled up, and then you had Studio 54,
right?
That was. To go biblical on your ass, it was a big den of iniquity.
I'm sorry. It was a what?
Well, I mean, honestly, it was these people doing drugs.
Love it.
Having sex.
Even better.
But being whatever the hell they wanted to be. Because they would show up, you know, in dresses, when, you know, boys in dresses. You know, I know it's a weird thing, but it happens.
It's gross.
What freaking Bianca Jagger showed up on a horse.
I was going to say someone wore a horse.
She
Wore a horse.
She wore a horse. She's like, excuse me, where's my horse? You don't, Bianca. You live in New York City. You don't have a horse.
Bitch, I'm dead.
I do wonder. I mean, she literally lived in New York City. Where do you suppose she got a white horse to ride into Studio 54?
Girl, she rented it. There's stables nearby.
Well, she was married to Mick Jagger. So
you're asking me how she got a fucking white horse? She was married to Mick Jagger!
Excuse me, could I borrow your white horse? Where are you going on a horse? Oh, I'm going to the discotheque.
First of all, don't you ever ask me a question again. Right. Second of all,
and I also need about 10 pounds of cocaine to share with all of my friends.
And the horse, just roughly 10 pounds.
If you look up pictures from Studio 54, you see
the
people
party.
Like Halston and Liza Minnelli and Andy Warhol and all of these people.
Just big.
Yes, it was huge. And then, of course, it wasn't, because when you have that kind of excess, it doesn't tend to last very long. No. Plus, the owners got busted for...
Again,
blah, blah, blah.
But like how many, every generation, every decade has its like club scene, no matter what it is, but it has a club scene. I'm sorry, remember the whole Michael Alec, Party Monster, the Club Kids? That was Studio 54 on crack. Do you know what I mean? It was Studio 54 in a fever dream. It was Studio 54 with like sleep paralysis, girl. That was what the Club Kids were.
It did make Studio 54 look kind of tame,
right? Like the Christians went there. That's where the nuns went to cool off, but not the Club Kids, girl. The Club Kids, honey. They would wear like 16 eyes, and it was eclectic. It was different.
Yeah, that's true. All right. You know, we should probably take another little break right there. Maybe, perhaps.
Okay, bye.
All right. And we're back.
Hi.
So I talked about my musical beginnings and the loves of my musical childhood and whatnot. How about you?
Oh, mine are very different.
Well, you were a child growing up in the country in the 90s.
Yeah, so...
But you were also being raised by Hicks.
Sure. So I had there was a lot of different... I don't know, a lot of different genres of music that I was exposed to from a young age. Mostly unintentionally, mostly against my will, because no one asked me if I wanted to, because the answer would have been no. But my biological father and my stepmother, they listened to... Being trash that they are, they listen to country and only country. So, like, 80s country, mostly 90s, early 2000s. So if you ask me a country song from the 90s, girl, I could give you a little tidbit, but I'm not going to because I hate them all. And then being raised by my grandma for a lot, she listened to what she would consider like heavy metal or hard rock, but it was like Kiss and Meatloaf. She also listened to a lot of classic rock, like Journey. So all this was, I got all of this. My mom mostly listened to like ballad music, a lot of, as you would say, Celine Dion. And Josh Groban, lots of that. Some Tool, which I was like, what? What happened? You went from Celine Dion to Tool?
Celine Dion is a tool.
Right, girl. And then the last two people, one of them is my older brother, who was like has been a drummer in a band since he was, I don't know, 13, something crazy. He's been with most of the same bandmates too. But he listened to a lot of grunge because it was the time. So a lot of Nirvana, a lot of Bush. Smashing Pumpkins, Soundgarden, all of that. And then, last but not least, it would have been you, who, as if anyone listening...
Who exposed you to good music.
To queer music, to people of color, to just music that wasn't country. So, like, lots of pop, lots of dancey, musicals, girl. Like, pick a goddamn thing. But interesting, I was tied to music a lot as a kid. But the very first person I ever remember loving, and mind you, you have to keep... It was 1992 when the song came out. So I would have been...
So you're 3.
Roughly 3. But it was Billy Ray Cyrus. I was obsessed with Achy Breaky Heart Girl. But...
were you obsessed with that, or were you obsessed with his mullet?
I thought he was so cute as a child, and I would dance in my little diaper with my golden mullet.
Hopefully by 3 you weren't still in a diaper.
Whatever. I was dancing mostly naked, probably just in panties. Who knows?
I would say that hasn't changed.
No, girl, I do that still. My second love, as you know, because, my second and third, Spice Girls, as you know, because you took me to the concert. And third was Avril Lavigne, as you know, because you took me to the concert.
I did take you to the concert, but my favorite story about you and Avril, because like when you were girlfriends, was when she put out her first album, and then she was up for a crap ton of Grammys, and won none of them, lost every single one of them to Norah Jones.
Yep.
And you were salty AF.
Yep. And as I told you earlier today, bitch, I'm still salty. That's like people are like, oh, Norah Jones. Well,
no, I still can't listen to that.
No, I hate her.
I mean, she's probably lovely, but
right.
She stole all Avril's awards.
Exactly. One of the other people that I have loved since I was a child, and as an adult, my relationship with loving them has changed, and you know this, but it's RuPaul. When I was a kid, seeing RuPaul in 1993 at, like, the MTV Spring Break in Cabo, or wherever the hell they were, she performed Supermodel of the World.
Yeah.
And it was magical, and people cheered, and she was, like, tall and fit and thin and queer and black and just a beautiful woman. And I remember being like, who the hell is that? And I mean, since then, I was very, very obsessed with RuPaul. I remember one time she came to Portland.
Yes. And
we were supposed to go because you were, like, hosting it.
No, I was just a guest.
Oh, you were just a guest.
Bolivia Carmichael's my dear friend.
Right.
Who, if you don't know who Bolivia is, book her for a party. She's
amazing.
My
God, she is a party.
She is the party. Anyway, she was hosting. I was supposed to just be a guest.
Yep.
And then I had a pinched nerve in my neck.
And then you threw your neck out, and I was mad, girl. I was mad. I was like, all my dreams are dead now.
You were Mad Max beyond the thunder.
I'm gonna go lay down in the freeway, because what's the point? I survived, oddly enough. But yeah, RuPaul. The other thing I'll say about music, though, is for a long time, I used to be in, like, a little orchestra, remember? When I was younger, I played the trumpet. You're welcome. But then I was in a jazz choir. You remember that. So I was always, like, closely tied to it. It's not like I was, like, great by any means. But music was always there. And it was always pretty eclectic. From going from, like, an orchestra to a jazz choir, listening to this, being forced to listen to the music I was forced to listen to as a child. But I mean, it did give me a very eclectic taste as an adult. Because now my musical taste is just kind of pick a thing. You know what I mean? Throw a dart at the timeline of musical genres, and I'll probably like something, you know?
Well, same. I mean, there's not a ton of music, or I can't really pick a genre and say, oh yeah, I don't like any of that genre.
Right, exactly.
Because there's good stuff,
girl,
I think, to be found in most genres of music.
Yes.
Country, not my thing. However, Dolly Parton.
Give me Dolly Parton. You can even give me Reba McEntire. You can give me... I would even listen to Shania Twain, girl. Don't even get me wrong. There are country singers that I love. Well, now with there being, like, Trixie Mattel and Orville Peck, you know?
Trixie and Orville. I love Trixie Mattel.
Queer country singers, love it. Give me more of it.
So, you know, I've actually been to a couple country concerts.
I'm leaving.
I know, right? Well, the first one, interestingly enough, was one that we, like, won. I was with my first husband, and he got tickets through... I don't even know. It was through some giveaway or some such nonsense, because God knows we didn't have any money.
Sure.
It was Kenny Rogers.
Okay.
And opening for Kenny Rogers was Barbara Mandrell.
Okay.
I know you probably don't know either one. Well, you probably
know Kenny Rogers.
Okay. Yeah. Barbara Mandrell had a million hit songs. She was country when country wasn't cool. I think that was the name of one of her songs. Anyway, she was the opening act, even though she was a huge star at that time in country music. She was delightful. Okay. I mean, it was one of those round stages, so theater in the round kind of thing, and every single person that came up with flowers, she paused for a moment, didn't stop singing, but would, like, hold their hand for a second, take the flowers, sing to them for a second. So, their life was made better.
I'm going to go die now.
Although one of the people that came and brought her flowers, she actually did stop singing. She told the band to stop and whatever. And she goes, "Oh my God, this is my friend who I haven't seen in years." Aww. And, called her name and said, blah, blah, blah. I love her. Quackity, quack, quack, quack. So I loved all that. That was fantastic. And that was like, oh, she feels so real to me.
Yeah, I love that.
Kenny Rogers came on, and he was an even bigger star. Before he had all of his facial alterations, so he didn't look like himself.
Before he looked like Tim Allen in the Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah. And people came up to give him flowers. He would literally grab the flower and just kind of toss it behind him. Never, didn't even acknowledge. Thank you. You gave me a flower.
Flips them off and kicks them in the teeth.
Didn't even chuck his chin at him. And it was all, what? I don't like you anymore. Mm-hmm. But the other country concert that I went to, well, there might have been more than two, but at the fair, the state fair, saw the Mandrell Sisters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was a hillbilly hoedown. But I did...
Girl.
I mean, whatever. But I did see the Judds in their farewell concert. Yes. They were phenomenal.
I'm sure.
Because Winona, I mean, that voice, really. Right. She has, to me, one of the most amazing voices country music's ever had.
Great.
But one of the other things about country music that I love, Katie Lang.
Oh, yeah.
First out queer country music. I mean, now you're right. We have Trixie Mattel and Orville Peck, and blanking on his name, young, gorgeous, black.
I don't know.
Country rapper.
Oh, yes, I do know his name. Are you talking about Lil Nas X?
Yes, Lil Nas X. I mean, he's a rapper, but he's also done some country music because he did that Old Town Road.
Yes.
But now I've completely I went off this train went off and then it caught on fire, and so I was trying to get away from it.
Did you take your medication?
Katie Lang. Okay. I did not take my meds this morning. I told you I was drunk. Katie Lang, first out queer country, but that is not what got her to lose her country following, because she had a huge country following, was doing great, and then she came out as a vegetarian. That is what made the country folks mad, and they burned her albums back to the album burning.
Girl,
because they're like, we're all about the cattle industry. And
give me meat! I'm like, bitch, what? Right. Eat a vegetable.
Have a carrot. Shut up.
Girl.
But they were all mad at because she said she was a vegetarian. And like I said, now we've got several queer country music musicians, which I love.
I like that is like, I like that being a vegetarian is such a moral issue for people. Like, not even other vegetarians or vegans, but people who are like, oh no, you don't eat meat?
How dare you?
I have to leave.
Well, Jesus, I'm sure you remember when Oprah Winfrey had made a statement when she was interviewing somebody. She was doing a show in Texas, and they were talking about mad cow disease. And she just made the simple statement, I will probably never eat beef again. Because of all of these cases of mad cow disease. And the cattle industry went wild because they were like, we're going to sue her. And they did sue her. And it's like, on what grounds?
Exactly.
Yes, she is this huge, huge celebrity who's, an influencer before that was even a term.
Sure.
She
was like the first.
Yeah.
The true iconic
influencer. It's like, but she just said, I will not, don't you, any of you people ever eat beef? No. She said, I will probably never eat beef again. And they were so mad.
Me. Girl, not for me.
Because they're like, this is our livelihood. Yeah, people are still eating meat.
Yeah.
So calm down.
Girl.
Calm down.
People have been eating meat for fucking
but it's
ever.
like, but with Katie Lang, it's like, that was more shocking to you than she was a lesbian?
I know.
Of course, when I first saw Katie Lang, I thought she was a man.
Yeah, you're like...
A hot man.
Who that man?
Yeah. Who that hot man?
I know.
I
get it.
What's interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people don't know this, is there have been very, very few black artists on the country chart. That part they probably know.
Yeah.
But Charlie Pride was the first. The second, wait for it, was the Pointer Sisters.
On the country charts?
On the country charts.
For what?
They did a song called Fairy Tale that they wrote and recorded, and I love, and I could sing it for you, but I won't because I like you. And so, but they were the second black artist to have a song chart on the country charts. But now, of course, there's been several people.
Yeah.
And Darius Rucker,
right?
He went from being Hootie and the Blowfish to just being Darius Rucker
to Hootie
and being a country musician. So
interesting, right?
But that is still probably the charts where you're going to have the least amount of